どんな女がタイプだい?
I can't believe it! One of the most insane twists of all of Jujutsu Kaisen was just revealed, and if you didn't catch it, I don't know. Only Choso and Yuji are related by blood, but as will Noritoshi Kamo, the man inside of Geto's body, by the way, Pseudo Geto, is Yuji Itadori's biological father. And as well, I have prepared some hot takes, as the kids say, meaning some criticism you've probably seen a million times about Jujutsu Kaisen before, so let's talk about that and so much more. If you love JJK, then subscribe and drop a like. Next week, we'll be covering the final episode of Season 2 as it drops, and 2 videos, What If Nobara Didn't Die, and analyzing Jujutsu Kaisen's villains. You probably don't want to miss them, and apologies in advance, I'm sick. I guess you could say I'm coming down with a cold. So we start off from last episode in the midst of destruction, and I love this. Chaos of Shibuya. We see a giant molten rock from the previous episodes, the remnants of the buildings that are still crumbling, and expose electrical wiring and lampposts as they fall. All the while, Panda is on the lookout for Kusakabe, who he finds pretty much fine lying under some rubble. I thought that was kind of funny. And let's be real, he's probably okay staying there for the rest of the season. However, what's surprising here is that Kusakabe now agrees that Yuji should be executed for everything that happened here. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this in general, because I think this line of thought is so interesting. I think I get Kusakabe in this moment because he was witness to untold mass destruction on a scale the likes of which haven't been seen in modern times. Yes, Sukuna destroyed Shibuya, but he did so via Yuji's body, and thus what's the best way to end Sukuna? Well, kill the body or the vessel. Though, as well, we gotta be fair. Let's call a spade a spade. Yuji is desperately needed at the same time. There is nobody like him that they have, because they don't have Gojo anymore, and to simply discard what could be their most useful tool? Well, Sukuna, or not, would be short-sighted. However, based on the way Kusakabe has acted throughout the season, which admittedly was cowardly, but not without good reason or intent, I think he was right that they couldn't even hope to put a scratch on Sukuna. It does align, and I think that Kusakabe isn't entirely wrong here, but I also don't think he's entirely right either. Hot take alert! Oh my god, we're gonna talk about a hot take. We're gonna go crazy here. But what is wrong, so very wrong about this episode, and really Jujutsu Kaisen in general, is that Mappa, for some reason, decided they didn't want to cut Mei sleeping naked with her little brother. Now, pay attention closely, folks. This is how you turn a badass female protag into basically a joke. Mei apologizes for Ui being exhausted, whether that is because they just got done making fish babies or because of the battle. I mean, who knows? Whoa! But even Ui, who probably is shipping Aqua and Ruby right now, tells Mei that this is inappropriate. And Mei, being, the responsible older sister, responds responsibly, quote, "Do you dislike me being inappropriate?" Yes, Mei. Yes, we do. Stop this foolishness. I'm honestly disappointed in how Gege presents females in JJK. Almost every single one of them are either useless, dead, or serviceable. And I don't mean in bed. It is without a doubt Gege's biggest weakness, and the fact he wrote this scene just... what did this add to Mei's character? If by chance someone watching actually liked this scene, and I mean actually truly liked it, not in some ironic way or benefit of the doubt, what is the benefit of this scene to Mei's character at all? How does this not torch Mei's entire standing in the cast? It's literally just throwing away potential, and especially after Nobara's death, Miwa being, Miwa, and Maki being scorched and, all of that. I think this cements on top of everything that Gege Akutami just doesn't care about his female characters. Now, let me be straight with you as well. I'm not calling him sexist. I think it's rather immature and short-sighted, even foolish, to say a writer of a mangaka of his story is sexist because he chose to write his females in the way that he wanted. It's not real. It's just fiction, but let's not get it twisted. I will criticize his ability to write. There is no excuse when you have amazing examples of females in modern shonen, like just off the top of my head, Momo Ayase from Dandadan, really any of the female characters in that series, or, Asamitaka and Rize, or the Rizzler as we call her, from Chainsaw Man, and also all of the females in Chainsaw Man. It's just embarrassing. I could could be wrong. I'm not exactly crestfalling about this entire thing either. I don't think, the sky is falling and I hate JJK and Akutami and everything's ending, yada yada. Try to understand that for me, a massive JJK fan, I just want to see badass women being treated like people and not either incest fan service, which is boggling how that's still a thing in 2023, almost 2024, or shock value deaths and funny, admittedly, but unneeded jokes. It's very amateurish in the most respectful and straightforward way I can say it to both Akutami and you, the people watching here. I'm truthfully not trying to just, ruffle feathers. These are actually legitimate criticisms on how I feel. So Mei gets a call, and here it's revealed in an off-screen conversation that Mei was able to survive due to Uui's innate technique. And, I'm being sarcastic here, but nice way to off-screen a fight. I totally don't hate this at all. But basically, she is told that because of the Shibuya incident, there will be an opportunity to capitalize on the stock market crash incoming and, all that stuff. It's actually pretty interesting, in my opinion. Does a little bit of world building for Japan in general. We then cut to Choso waking up in a train station looking like a crumbled up $1 bill as Choso questions who exactly Yuji is and also who he himself is. I love Choso's character, by the way. Super bestest boy, and I can finally say that now. This leads to Geto, who confronts Mahito and Yuji, and as Yuji runs at Geto, fearless in his pursuit to give Gojo back, he drops from his hand a catfish and speaks of a folk tale that giant catfish were the cause of earthquakes, or at least signs of impending earthquakes, which I actually believe was a real-life superstition back in the day. I think I remember hearing about that when I was in college. But using this technique, he makes it seem as if Yuji was falling, but in reality, he wasn't. And so Yuji jumps over the hole, but is hit with hundreds of centipedes, which is super creepy and kind of ooey, and falls into the hole from the strike as, most interestingly, Gojo mentions Yuta Okatsu, or as Rika would say, and we see this amazing shot of Yuji severely injured, cut up and bleeding, on his hands and knees, his clothes are all messed up, and I just gotta say, oh my lord, battle damaged look, always the preferred look. I don't care what anyone says. But interestingly, Mojito, as the Google Docs corrects for some reason, is then absorbed into a ball that Geto has, which reminds me a lot of when Naraku absorbed Muso and Inuyasha. That reference was for all the Inuyasha fans who still watch my channel. I wonder if this is where Mojito was originated or, created, or if this is just a container of sorts for him. Either way, the opening scene was very verdurous, to say the least, going from Kusakabe to Mei to Geto. It's just such a variety of quality in that initial scene. After the meme-tastic opening, Geto then explains something really cool as he's holding the Mahito Materia, the maximum technique. Basically, Geto initially had little need in the technique as he kind of misunderstood it, but then he realized that there was way more to it and that he could use multiple curse spirits, combining them into one, and well, as we see, he swallows the Mahito Materia and he reveals he could just release it in one gigantic burst, which he does here in a moment. But as he does so, we get this awesome scene where the first years show up and provide support for Yuji. Even Mai shows up and snipes Geto. Always love to see Mai, which he commends as he says it's best to use conventional weapons against sorcerers, which is a nice little tidbit and a little bit of, world building for Jujutsu sorcerers and stuff like that. Really interesting stuff that conventional weapons are still very useful against them. But as this happens, we hear Miwa explain that as a child, they would dye her hair black as the captain of the baseball team, and today, she doesn't want to die. So she keeps moving forward into the future, wielding her sword and swinging, and thus using quick draw. And, well, obviously it doesn't work. In fact, he just breaks her blade, and this leads to Geto using his maximum technique, Uzumaki, and no, that's not a Naruto reference, and nearly kills Miwa, but she is saved by Kusakabe, Momo, and Urahime of all people. Nice save. This was animated so brilliantly, probably not as good as it was animated in JJK0. If my memory serves me correctly, I think he used that technique in that film. Correct me if I'm wrong, though that may have just also been different variations of kind of the same idea too. I can't remember, but still, very well animated scene, especially when you see Miwa come face to face with it. I'm glad the blue popsicle isn't dead after all. However, we then see that Choso has arrived on the scene and he calls out the name Noritoshi Kamo, and upon hearing this, Urahime informs us that if the person inside Geto is Noritoshi Kamo of the Kamo family, then he must be over 150 years old. However, Geto, confirming this to be the case, tells them all that's just a name and to call him whatever they like, as Choso charges with anger over to Geto, but Urame stops him. Oh my god. So this was crazy. The fact that this man is technically the father of Choso, and on top of that, was the man who tormented his mother? Does this mean that Yuji is also the son of Noritoshi Kamo? If so, then how is Yuji so young? Did Kamo and another vessel before Geto have a child with another woman? Itadori's mom, and thus giving birth to him? Who the hell is Itadori's mom in all this? I want to know. This would also make a lot of sense and line up perfectly with their plan to seal Gojo and free Sukuna. After all, in this episode, he says Sukuna's vessel is sturdy, and we do know that Yuji isn't exactly some rando weak kid. He's very special. So, what if Kamo did all of this to raise Yuji to be the vessel of Sukuna? What if this was all his plan? Choso then describes that no matter what, because of his technique, he can sense his brother's life force, basically, and that because of this, it is 100% confirmed that Choso is the brother of Yuji. So basically, it's like a DNA test, but in ability form. Kind of cool. So, oh my god, this whole thing was crazy. So Choso attacks Urame with piercing blood, which Urame can only stop as he attacks Geto. Once again, some of the craziest animation as he launches Geto into the sky on a platform of like bedrock, as Geto just nonchalantly dodges it all with Geto's Stingray curse, which he then launches a gigantic curse at him on the platform he's standing on, cuts it in half, and then Geto drops down as Choso is pushed off the platform. Definitely Super Smash Bros. Reference, right? But it continues. Choso uses his blood to propel him back onto the platform as we're witness to insanely fluid hand-to-hand combat between the two, as Choso's true character shines through in this moment. Does this for family. He does this for Vin Diesel. And as the others observe the fight, they realize they have to take back the prison realm as Urame freezes them all in ice, stopping them from moving in one of the coolest animated moments of this episode. And just as Urame is about to kill Choso, Yuji saves his brother as Choso informs him that he is his big brother and to call him Oni-chan, despite Yuji thinking it is just all a joke. This leads into Momo joining the fray, which is always nice to see, but I have no faith. But wow, they animated Urame's ice technique so well, especially when Yuji is frozen in place and absolutely shocked as it seems for just a moment Yuji is done for. Seriously, I know I say this every episode and I don't think this fight is as good as the last episode's fight, don't get me wrong, but this has got to be one of the better, I guess, shorter fights of this season, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? The ice techniques are so versatile that it's a good clash between Choso's blood and Geto's curse techniques. I also like the art of the ice too. It's shimmering, but also has texture to it even in motion, which makes it look like it's like fractalizing and breaking as it forms and grows even more. It's just really pretty. However, in a twist that I never saw coming, out of nowhere, blonde Misato appears. Yuki Sumiko, the woman who probably helped nobody in this entire series and arguably made Geto even more depressed and crazy and inspired him to commit genocide, appears. As well, I like the way the light from the ice reflects off her cursed spirit, skin, and clothes when she appears. It's just cool because if you think about it, the ice is literally glowing, and because of the scene being so dark, it creates this nice juxtaposition between the two. Once again, creating a very aesthetically pleasing look that I just really appreciate. For some reason, though, she asks Geto again what type of woman he likes, to which I have to say, what's your slant here, lady? What is he gonna say? Tall blonde women with the big butts? Wait, I didn't realize that until now. Yuji was just saved by the very type of woman he loves. Tall blonde women with a big butt. Wait, Yuki is Jennifer Lawrence, isn't she?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Anyways, yeah, I don't think Yuki has a chance with Geto, relationship or otherwise. Just saying, he has some baggage, to say the least. Wow, I mean, just wow. Despite my criticisms of the female characters, which I know isn't anything new in the JJK community, we've been complaining about it since this arc finished, how Akutami just seems to really hate his female characters. And trust me, if you think the female representation is just, this is just an isolated example and it's gonna get better, don't hold your breath. I love to hear, though, in the comments what you think about this topic too. Am I right or wrong? What is your thoughts on female characters and how they're treated in JJK? I want to be fair. However, wow, the animation was just a killer. And I think the best moments were Choso and Geto and everything Urame did in the episode. Those two moments in of themselves are not the greatest, but for sure some of the better moments in the season and a very, very good capstone to the Chibi incident. It really does feel like JJK has come to the end of an era. Gone are the happy times of season 1. Now has arrived the dark times, for better or or for worse. That being said though, I love this episode and the revelations in the story, like Choso being the blood brother of Yuji and the potential father of Noritoshi Kamo, aka Pseudo Geto. It's probably an all-time moment in this series, and definitely at the very least Jujutsu Kaisen's story. And because of that, I'm very eager to see how they wrap up this season with next week's episode. So if you haven't, get subscribed and drop a like, as if you don't, you'll miss next week's finale and as well next week's videos, where I'll be talking about Jujutsu Kaisen's biggest strength, which is its villains, and as well a what if video detailing what would happen if Nobara didn't die. Financially